work for Tutor as the community manager for our USC teaching program. For those of you not familiar with Tutor and the USC partnership, we actually partnered with the University of Southern California to help bring their Masters in Teaching and their Masters of Education online. And then with me today, I have Richard Casella, who is actually a graduate of the online Masters in Teaching program at USC, as well as wears many other hats. I'll let him talk about that. And San Kim, who is the CEO of Shomi, an app developed for the iPad to help teach and learn. So I'll let them kind of describe a little bit more about what they do.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Sarah said, my name is Rich Casella. Not only am I a teacher, I'm actually a teacher in a number of different areas. I am an English teacher with K-12 Incorporated. It's an online, basically, teaching conglomerate, but I teach in 4 different states. I teach in New Jersey, Connecticut, California, and Colorado. I teach kids from all over, from military kids to kids that, 2 of my kids are on the U.S. ski team, to credit recovery kids that are in the inner cities that are just trying to complete their degree. I am also an adjunct professor of new media and teaching teachers how to use everything that we're talking about, and I do that at UCLA Extension. But what my daily hands-on job is, I'm a coach. I have coached basketball, baseball, volleyball, powder puff, Special Olympics, basically anything that I could coach, I have done. And I've started at a young age. I coach currently basketball at Lyman Hall High School, which is my alma mater. And Lyman Hall is a very interesting community because approximately 40% of the teachers and the coaches that are at Lyman Hall went to Lyman Hall. It's a very intimate and very close-knit community. But at the same time, through social media, I was also able to connect myself with the Connecticut Attack, and actually through YouTube. And we're building a relationship, and I'm very close and have been able to do some great things with that organization. And we're actually going to be launching a big social media push for athletes. So basically, all the stuff that you're trying to do in the classroom, we're going to bring to the court, to the fields, to anything or anyone that really wants to learn and learn how to be an athlete. So that's a little bit about me.
So I'm San. I'm CEO and founder of Shomi. Shomi is an iPad app that lets you create these video tutorials in a really easy way. It's just the kind of whiteboard-style videos that you can create. If you've seen the Khan Academy, it's the same kind of idea, except that instead of one person doing all of the lessons, you can contribute your own, and we have thousands of teachers doing their own kind of Khan Academies on Shomi. So it's called Shomi. It's an iPad app. Check that out.
Cool. Well, because today's discussion is called The Classroom of Tomorrow, I figured we'd just start out by talking about what do you guys think that the classroom of tomorrow will look like. So fill in the blank. In 10 years, the classroom of the future will blank.
Do you want to start, or?
Yeah, I think the classroom of the future will be open in the sense that I think, the traditional notion of classrooms is very contained in like the actual classroom. There's one teacher and there's a few students. I think those walls will start to break down as we get into more kind of blended learning options and start to bring in materials from not only that particular school, but from teachers all over the world. And that's the kind of trend that we're really excited about.
I'd have to agree, and really, I think our traditional sense of a classroom is we're going, desks aligned in a row, going into a brick and mortar classroom, teacher in front of the class. Unfortunately, I believe that that's still going to be around in 10 years. I mean, I went to high school, and I was very fortunate to go to a traditional public school, had great teachers. My parents before me went to a traditional public school. However, as I moved along in my educational career, I decided that online learning was really what was best for me. And to be honest with you, I mean, a classroom of tomorrow is going to be something just like this in a backpack. This is a classroom of tomorrow. I mean, this is something and somewhere that people can connect to. And that's what's most important, is whatever device is around in 10 years, that's not what's going to be important. It's the people on the other ends of the device. Because no matter how many great gadgets we make, it's the people, it's the connections, it's the expertise, it's the curiosity. That's what really builds a classroom and what really builds learning. So that's, no matter how it's constructed, the classroom of tomorrow is going to be about people, and it's going to be about building a culture of learning.
Great. So talking a little bit about kind of disruptors like the iPad, like your app, and all those things out there, we have some kind of inside disruptors like Tutor working with universities to kind of cultivate an online learning atmosphere. And then we also have Shomi and Khan Academy and all these other devices and tools coming in and kind of like changing the way that the classroom works, or the way that people are learning, or what they're using, what they're doing. So from your guys' perspective, how do you think these disruptors will play in the classroom?
The biggest challenge right now for every disruptor is to really move beyond the traditional classroom. Stop copying and pasting everything that goes on in a traditional classroom and just putting it online. A lot of the applications, or a lot of the courses that are being offered online, there's set schedules. There's certain times that you have to log into. What's really important is, if I really wanted to learn about something right now, how do I do it? Where do I go? Where are the people, the experts that I need to get a hold of? Being in a traditional public high school, being in a setting in a basketball court, that the kids don't, no matter how often we think that students are these digital natives that can just be whizzes on a device, some of them really do not. They're not. They need a little bit of guidance, a little bit of, hey, did you realize you could do this, or that? Did you realize you could connect with this person? So these disruptors, I think a true disruptor, and I'm talking about disrupting the traditional everyday, everywhere, or every town USA classroom, needs to be able to bring learning 24/7 to a platform that will allow them to connect with people that will really matter, and then to create with something that really matters and that can really affect people positively.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the way these tools are disrupting the classroom today is just being useful to teachers. And I think it's whatever teachers can use to their advantage and to kind of deliver as much value to their students are the tools that are going to be disrupting the classroom. And I feel like the tools that are being disrupted are the ones that were not useful, yet had a ton of adoption in the classroom just because of whatever sales to schools.
Right.
So, I feel like that it's up to the teachers to use these disruptive tools to their advantage.
Right, definitely. Also, you guys may see behind me now, Brandon, can you hear us? Maybe.
Hopefully, maybe. Just to give you some insight, I know that they're working on the audio issues, but this was my classroom. This was one of many classrooms, different areas. This is how I got my master's degree, and actually Professor Martinez was an influential person in my life. Professor Martinez is an on-campus USC professor, and he's someone that's in the trenches, basically applying all the theories that we're talking about. And he was able to connect with me, even though I was over on the East Coast, and build a relationship. And when I went out and graduated and actually walked in the USC graduation, we were able to sit down, have a cup of coffee, have a hug, and basically talk about our experiences, even though it was the first time we ever met. So hopefully he'll be able to hear us, but if not, I know that he's actually going to be having a class in the next 20 minutes, so he'll be influencing another couple dozen teachers all online. So.
All right, I'm just going to leave him be unless he chimes in. Okay, so kind of going off of that, we talk about you guys have said multiple times, the teacher is not going to go away. It's, we need teachers as guides. We need teachers in the classroom, whether it's online or not. But I feel like a lot of educators are nervous or scared that teachers will become obsolete because of all the content that exists online. What do you guys have to say to that, to like speak to teachers?
Yeah, I was formerly a teacher, not in a school, but I was a tutor and kind of after-school teacher. And my feeling is that teachers aren't just there for content and for information and all these things that the tools can do. I think teachers represent so much more than that. Teachers can inspire students and they can motivate students beyond what websites and apps and tools can do. And these are just tools, right? And just because there are tools for movie making doesn't mean that directors are no longer needed. It's tools that artists can use to further their craft. And I think the same applies for teachers. Right on.
I would have to agree, and it's actually, teachers are going to be more important because their role may evolve, but that's not a bad thing. I think that building a culture, building something that people want to actually be a part of is exactly what a teacher wants. They want people to come to them and say, hey, help me, guide me, give me advice, give me guidance, give me something that will allow me to go somewhere or to expand somewhere else. We're not going to rely just on a traditional classroom anymore, and none of us do. All of our professional development, it's free, it's available, it's open, and one of the great things, and I know that working at K-12, one of my biggest worries was, all right, I'm going to go in there and I'm basically going to be just another person to these kids. I'm not really going to matter. I'm just going to be their grading tool. And what I found is that the people, the teachers, I mean, we have social media networks that I never even knew existed that are support systems that'll allow me to actually reach out to kids that are all over the world, all over the country, the military kids. I actually had a student that her parents left her. She was 15 years old from the Philippines. Parents went back because they couldn't afford to stay in the United States, and she was boating in Colorado. I don't know, where the nearest body of water is in Colorado, but she actually went to an island to connect online, to meet with me and to learn basic English so that she can move on and have a better life. And what I'm a big believer of is options. If you want to go to private school, great. If you want to go to have an individualized tutor, great. If you want to work online like I did, great. But I think that whether it's a traditional teacher or it's a colleague, we're teaching each other, and that will never go away. So don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to expand and to say, hey, you can go to a charter school. Let's open up and try a hybrid school, because I think that no matter what, teachers will matter. It's that personal connection.
Yeah, and ultimately, the educators that take advantage of these tools are going to be the ones that are successful, right? Mm-hmm. And it might be that people who neglect these tools will, go out of business, and that's not the worst thing in the world. The tools are there to help teachers, to help their students.
I'm going to ask one more question. This is a little side note from what we were just talking about, but when we're talking about all of these tools, some of them, promote collaboration in the classroom. Some of them promote self-paced learning where a student can kind of go off on their own and learn. Would you say one is better than the other? Would you say that they should work together? What would you say about that?
Yeah, as you mentioned before, I feel like options are the key here, right? Like, I don't think there's one way to learn anything. And I think every student has their own style, and I think we should be open to that instead of trying to determine just the one way to learn. So I think the availability of options is important, and it's good that it's happening.
Mm-hmm. I think the time for us to start, oh, we're better than this, or we're the option, or the online is the learning of the future. It's going to be an avenue. It's going to be an option. I think once everyone gets over trying to be the best and starts actually working with each other and learning, then everyone's just going to fall into place. And that's what's really frustrating at times, because I was actually very proud. I know that USC, one of the things that they talk about is, well, hey, just realize that your degree, it's going to say USC, and it's not going to say USC Online. You know what? In my resume, I say that I'm an online learner, and there's no shame in that at all, because there's more things going on online in the last 10 minutes than there probably are in most schools in an entire school year. So it's something that is evolving. It's something that I think people will have to, just keep up with. But you know what? That's okay. That's perfectly fine.
Great. Sure. Do you... Sorry, what? He said...
Can you hear us now, Professor?
He can hear us.
Okay. Now, can we hear you? That's the next question. You have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Well done. Welcome to our classroom.
Do you want to answer the basic question? What do you think the classroom will be like in 10 years, or what is the classroom of the future?
Yeah, I would say let's not even think 10 years. Let's just think the next 3. And I think what you're going to find is that with tablet technology, classroom is going to be out in the field. So right now, in my office, I'm going to have class later today with students from all over the United States logging into the Adobe Connect space. But we're still going to be bound somewhat by a laptop or a desktop. And I think what's coming around the corner is that with the advancements with tablet technology and mobile phones, I will actually start conducting class out in the field. So when we talk about learning theories, for instance, or student teaching, I may actually be in a science class that's happening live at a local high school while my students are watching that. So the classroom of the future, I think, is one that is no longer going to be bound by a physical location. Certainly one that's going to be experienced in real time through mobile technology. And I think a second to that is what's going to be happening outside of the time that we're bound together. And one way that I've used that with my students is simply through Twitter, by having students thinking about concepts and examples from what we're learning in our class, and then tweeting about it as they find it. So in that way, our class, and myself included, stay engaged with the content ubiquitously. So that's my 3-year answer to your question.
And I want to add, what's amazing to me and what was exciting to me is that no longer will teaching programs just be relegated to their certain areas. We have USC teachers all over the country right now, and influencing areas and providing a little bit of their culture to completely different cultures and areas and experiences. So it's a very exciting time for education, and the classroom never stops. My courses at UCLA, one thing that I make sure is my first assignment is get a Twitter account and go on EdChat. That was my #1 assignment, because I wanted to make sure that after that class was over that I could still have a relationship with those people.
Great. I think that's all we have right now. I just want to quick recap that, first of all, thank you guys both for joining us. Thank you, Brandon, for joining us on the Adobe Connect system. And we're looking forward to the classroom of the future, whatever that does hold. I'm excited that we have these two here that we could talk about. Teachers are not going to become obsolete. Teachers are an integral part of learning. So, I'm so happy to be here, so happy to be surrounded by educators. So thank you.
Thank you.